Welcome. I'm Danielle Sally.
And I'm Eva Fusa.
And you're listening to Ghost Boss, stories about the freelance afterlife.
We have something very important to just start out the gate with.
Very important.
Danielle.
Yes.
You're a monster.
Okay, so I didn't realize I was a monster until you asked me this. And then we started having conversations with other people. And I realized I am weird.
You're a monster. Tell the audience why you're a monster.
Right, so here's the deal. We wanted this first episode, to talk about our audio working habits, what we listen to, maybe what we watch while we're working. And I told Eva that I very often listen in silence. Sit there. I sit there in silence. I don't listen to anything. And Eva, what was your response to that?
You're a monster. I don't even fold laundry in silence.
What? Really?
No.
Okay. I don't know. I just I get in the zone and I'm in my thoughts.
What?
I like
you just
that.
listen to your thoughts?
I have a lot to say to myself.
Well, so do I, but you're much more emotionally balanced if you're just going to sit there and listen to it all day.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know, because I don't know if it's just I get too into the music or and if I'm watching something, I don't want to watch something I'm invested in.
Well, no, but there's plenty of throwaway stuff to watch.
So I do. This might be weirder for you.
Oh, good. She's just furthering her monsterness to everybody.
I know, and I'm trying to justify it, and it's not. And there's sometimes I listen to, and we're recording this, keep in mind it's close to Halloween. I sometimes listen to scary, haunted, eerie music in the background, and I do find that calming.
That tracks.
Okay, thank you.
That tracks.
But not often. Mostly it's silent.
What's weird is not what you listen to, because we could unpack what I listen to.
Sure.
Right? It's weird that you have large stretches of time where you don't listen to anything while you work.
I could go a whole day not listening to anything.
Danielle, it is 10:37 a.m.
And this is a lot of noise for me this early.
When I got up at 6:45 this morning, we got in here around 9:15.
Yes.
In that, 2.5 hours? Is that right? 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And also I was getting a child ready for school, dogs, and all that kind of stuff. But the content that I've consumed since then, I've listened to half a podcast. I've listened to at least 15 minutes of a book. I've listened to, not fully watched, but listened to probably 30 TikToks.
Okay.
And a whole playlist.
I often scroll through Instagram without sound. I don't even listen to it.
Yeah. TikTok is the opposite, though. I will scroll through it and I don't have to watch it.
Sometimes I get annoyed if I have to turn the sound on.
Yeah. It's interesting how those platforms, which are now trying to kind of mimic each other, like Instagram's trying to pull reels in, how people interact separately. So you will hear lots of people talk about, I listened to the TikTok, but I wasn't really watching it.
Right.
And then you hear people are like, well, I was looking at Instagram, but I wasn't really listening to it.
Now, I did, when I used to have a commute before I started working from home and then for myself, I did used to listen to podcasts more because I was in my car. But if you really want to get your mind blown,
here we go.
So my commute's much longer than Eva's, and
yeah, because she lives on the other side of the river. Everybody,
that's a thing here in Columbia. But I have a much longer commute. Sometimes I'll get halfway through my drive and realize I don't have music playing
in the morning.
I'm in the zone.
So when I worked in an office, I could tell if I'd had a bad day if I got in the car and I realized I'd gotten all the way to daycare for pickup and hadn't turned anything on.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah. So I don't experience that now because
you're happy. No.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Well, also I work for myself and I work at home and I'm almost during the day. I'm usually by myself. So
right.
It's hard for me to get talked out during the day.
That's fair.
But
we should also clarify, Eva is the extrovert of this
very much
duo.
So.
I'm very much the introvert that has to pretend to be an extrovert a lot. So I feel like when I am by myself, I have to kind of recharge more because I get in a lot of situations with my leadership roles through nonprofits. I have to force myself to be an extrovert a lot. And I feel like, so when I do have time to myself, that's when I recharge. And I think I do it in silence.
So if I need to recharge in silence, it's a thing. I did this last week and I told Danielle about it. We were at a conference together and I'm very extroverted, but I get tapped out at conferences because you got to people all day. And there was a 45-minute break between the conference and the awards dinner. And so I went to my room and got under a 15-pound weighted blanket and I put on my AirPod Maxes to white noise and just like hunkered down. And I felt like a bubble, like it popped up above me, like with recharge status. And like 45 minutes later, I felt great, but I don't need that. Like
I need it.
I've had so many introverted friends that have explained to me the need to recharge. And I just recharge very differently
because what you need to recharge is the opposite of what I need to recharge. Yes. What you need to recharge is what drains me.
It's stimulation and interaction is what recharges me. Now, you can get too much either way, right? And that's what happened at the conference. But yeah, I also, I view a lot of my like audio consumption as an extension of like learning. So I read a lot before I became a mom and I still consume a lot of books, but it's primarily through audiobooks because I can do that while I'm multitasking.
Right.
And so part of why I'm always listening to something, even if it's throwaway stuff, like things that I'm not really paying attention to, is because I go a little bit on autopilot when I'm working and my brain wants something else to kind of
balance it,
keep it paddling along.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if I'm writing or if I'm copy editing, which I don't do a lot of, but it is part of my skill set, I have to turn it off. Right. Because I need to really concentrate.
And I thought I had someone on my side. We were talking to our friend Eva and Danielle.
Yes. We'll have him on sometime.
We'll have him on and he records audio. So I thought for sure Yash is on my side.
Right.
No, the opposite.
Well, Yash said
he gets frustrated
that he can't listen
to music while he's working because he's in the audio world.
Yes.
No one's on my side.
No.
Someone's going to comment on this and say, I feel so seen. I also want to be quiet.
Well, y'all can have a weird little club together and not talk.
We'll have a silent disco at a work conference.
You won't have a silent disco because you got to pump something through those headphones and you're not going to put anything through it.
You don't know that. They could be. Actually, you know what I would do? Back when I worked in a cube, I very often would put AirPods in my ear and not have anything playing.
Well, that was just a signal to people to leave you alone, right?
It never worked.
No,
yes.
I feel like a lot of people do that, but
now sometime I was raging and I turned up the music all the way to like drown things out.
Yeah.
But most times it was just my signal to please don't talk to me.
Yeah.
It never worked.
Right. Right. I was in an office at the end of my in-house. Well, I started in an office. My first job I had an
me
office.
Too. Actually, we'll spend
it was a shared office space, but
we'll spend an episode and talk about how I went from a corner office in my first job down to a cube.
Yeah, I was in a cube for a while and I was like, I somehow don't feel like this was what I was supposed to be doing.
Same.
But now that we've talked about you being a monster, why don't we talk a little bit about when you do listen to something?
Yes.
What do you listen to? And then I'll give you I've got so many, so you start.
So lately, when I do listen to music, it is usually when I'm working out. I'm big into Peloton. You know this.
Yes.
And so very often I'm gravitating towards some Big Frida, or I'm gravitating towards a lot of EDM, a lot of house music. Nice. I want stuff that I can dance to.
Boom, boom,
yes.
Boom, boom. Yep.
Or I'm very happy NSYNC's back. I will.
In what?
NSYNC is back.
Oh, NSYNC is back.
And I
heard Sling back. So I was like, choose?
I love some 90s, early 2000s pop.
Okay.
And I'm happy that I'm not happy. Everything from my high school days are back, but I'm happy about the music trends coming back and reliving my NSYNC days. But mostly I would say house music, EDM, that is on repeat for me right now.
Okay.
What about you though?
For music, what have I listened to recently? Well, my son has hijacked my Spotify.
Oh, that happens.
Yeah. So there's a lot of Kids Bop in there, but then some Little Richard.
When you're a parent, the Spotify rap isn't as fun.
No. So for music, I listen to a lot of like early 2000s emo and hardcore music.
That tracks.
That tracks,
that
right?
Tracks.
Like bands that played at New Brooklyn in 2004 is like kind of where it is for me.
Right.
And then I listen to it's like a lot of throwback stuff like that.
Anything current?
Yeah, if it was a TikTok audio, I'll go find the song.
So anything trending on TikTok?
Not audio. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I like some Young Gravy songs because he was trending on TikTok.
All right.
Yeah. So that's music. For other things, I listen to 2 or 3 podcasts primarily.
So hold up. You can work and listen to podcasts.
Depending on what I'm doing, yeah.
I've never been able to.
It depends on like if I'm doing a lot of production work or a lot of organizing of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if I've like worked out a campaign and I'm just putting together the assets now.
Okay, fair. When I'm doing a bunch of resizes or something like that, I do find that's the time I'm listening to something.
It also depends. So my audio, like word content that I consume has different, like, I almost think of them as like density levels.
Sure.
So like listening to a fiction book as an audiobook is probably the most dense thing that I can listen to. The next step down is probably a nonfiction audiobook. Maybe that might edge out by some certain podcasts are really in depth, like some of the investigative podcasts. And then you drop down into like lighter newsworthy podcasts. And then you drop it down to like entertainment podcasts.
Sure.
And so in that kind of breadth, it depends. But yes, I've listened to 6 hours of an audiobook while working.
That's a month for me.
Yeah. I listened to the last couple of years, I've listened to 48 audiobooks in a year. And then I read.
That's just impressive.
I read probably like another 6 to 8. 52 is my goal is to hit. So like right now I'm listening to a bunch of short story audiobooks. They're like a couple hours long each, and there's 6 of them. But I'll be starting Holly, the new Stephen King book, in a couple days because I have a long drive coming up. And she's in a continuation of a character in 2 other books that I've listened to. And then I've been listening to the Sanjay Gupta Chasing Life podcast. All right. It's really good. They're like 20-minute episodes. I just turned 40. So it's just like a really interesting perspective on parenting and aging and what all that means. And then I listened to the 90 Day Fiance Cray Cray podcast.
Yeah. Throw that into the mix. Why not?
I do. And I pay for the extra content. So I listen to, I'm not joking, 4 hours of that a week.
So that's more my speed.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm listening to anything that has to do with the Real Housewives franchises.
Right. And I find you can kind of ping my mood based on like if you tell me like, go listen to some words, you can ping my mood based on what that is. So like I have re-listened to that 90 Day Fiance podcast a couple of times because I want to listen to something, but I'm not in the headspace to be following a Stephen King novel right now.
Sure.
So I'm going to put on this trash, which is similar to what I do. Like when I work, if I'm not listening to a podcast, I'm often like rewatching a show I've seen 1,000 times.
Absolutely.
So like I'm rewatching Veep, or that's the one that I've been rewatching the most recently.
Sure.
So something that has a lot of nuance to it, is very scripted, but I've probably seen it 1,000 times.
I do think rewatching episodes, that's my exception to watching TV while I'm working. Because I know what to expect.
Sure.
So like if I am watching something, it's either a Bravo marathon.
Right.
Or right along the same path would be Ghost Hunters.
Well, so everybody, mine is like all the TLC,
all of their good reality.
Like,
remember when they used to do like Trading Spaces? And they said that's not working.
I would rewatch that. I mean,
I did love some Trading Spaces.
Yeah, anything like that. I watch a lot of Hoarders, My 600-Pound Life, like stuff like that. That like it's the same plot every time. There's a little bit of nuance, but like if I don't remember the dude's mom's name, like it's fine. I'm still following the storyline.
Exactly.
For a while there, every time I completed a project, I could tell you like what was running while I was doing your work. And some people would be like, yeah, your logo was born out of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or and then like that just, or I was like, yeah, that was my Love is Blind season.
Okay. Now you got my brain going. Now I want to track what I'm listening to or not listening to in my case when I'm creating a new brand or a new advertising campaign. Because now I will be interested to go back and be like, okay, what inspired that?
I also think we should, as just like a fun little data point before next week, and I guess we can start it at noon today.
Noon. Yep.
Track how much audio content you consume.
Okay.
Like ballpark it.
Okay.
Ballpark it. But that...
Now, when you say this, because earlier
let's make parameters.
You said social media. Mm-hmm. You said Instagram, TikTok videos. You said music, TV. Mm-hmm. Do you mean, and do we want to do just while working? Because listen, when I'm not working. I don't want that number.
No. I think it would be interesting anytime you're not primarily watching. So like,
okay, that's fair.
So like for me, I would count if I put a show on and I'm not looking at the screen a lot, right? I'm listening to it while I do other stuff.
Okay. We'll track this. And you know what? By this time next week, when we record episode 2, I will give you a number.
Yeah. Ballpark.
And we're going to see how different our numbers are.
Mine might be a little skewed. I'm traveling this week.
It might. Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's not. Let's still do it. And then we'll do it.
You want to just do a day?
Yeah.
Why don't we just do tomorrow? Tuesday.
Record how much audio is consumed.
Because my schedule tomorrow is pretty like standard.
Yes.
For what
same actually.
Yeah. So tomorrow.
We're going to track this.
Track how much audio you consume.
While working hours.
Just working hours?
Yeah.
Okay. I consume even more afterwards.
I'd be curious too. Everyone listening to this, I'm making that plural because I'm manifesting.
Yeah.
Everyone listening to this.
We'll get more than one person. Statistically speaking, there's 7 billion people on the planet.
There's 2 of us.
Yeah. Hey.
I would be interested on how much audio everyone consumes and seeing the range of consumption, audio consumption during the working hours.
I would like to, for myself, I'm going to capture working hours in total.
Okay. We'll do both.
Yeah. Working hours in total.
Okay. I can do this.
I was talking to somebody recently about starting a podcast. Not this one, but this one came up.
You're doing another one? You're cheating on me?
No. I'm helping a client launch a podcast.
Oh yeah, work.
They're paying me. It's not cheating.
I'm not paying you.
It's not cheating if I'm getting paid. I don't think that's the line. But anyways, I was talking to somebody about it, and she was like, well, I don't really listen to podcasts. So like, there was just like a conversation about, well,
sure,
you either do or you don't. And if you don't, like, it's a little bit harder to understand like why you would want to start this for a company. And I was like, I honestly listen to probably easily just audiobooks and podcasts, probably 5 hours a day. Easy.
Man.
Sometimes more.
Yeah.
That's not including like a show's running behind me while I'm working. That's not including listening to TikToks while I'm working.
And I acknowledge I'm the odd one in this. I'm the monster.
Right. You're the monster.
So I have to assume that most people, their averages are going to look more like yours.
I think mine's probably high.
Okay,
I think I probably skew high. I think they're probably in between. Like I admit like mine probably skews high.
Okay. We'll find out. Episode 1, we're doing a focus group.
That's right.
All right. So we wanted to talk about this because both of us went from working in an office to now fully working at home, or sometimes we are in co-work spaces like we're using today. We recorded this out of SoCo in Columbia, South Carolina, but we wanted to talk about our audio. And I think a lot of things, are inspired by our music. So did you find that your audio consumption or what you're listening to or how you listen to it, did any of that change when you went from working in an office to working at home?
It just got easier to do it.
Yeah.
So I've always been somebody who likes to have like the TV or a show running behind me. So when I was in an office, I actually got an iPad that didn't need Wi-Fi.
Okay, I feel this.
Yeah. So that I could. And like, it was always a thing because I never got in trouble because I was getting my work done.
Right.
But I always had to I didn't want people to think I was just like watching, because I'm not just sitting there watching it.
Yeah.
But if somebody walked into my cube or my office without context and was like, why is there a video?
It looks like you're not working.
Right. But I am. I'm like,
right.
But look all the stuff that I've done today. So no, my audio consumption is the same. I still listen to, my commute before was 8 minutes. So it's not.
Yeah. Whereas mine was like, they're probably closer to 45.
Yeah.
because I would have to leave during peak traffic hours.
Right. Mine was 8 with traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived, it was not very far away. So, my commute now to like to and from my son's school is further.
Sure.
So it's all probably about the same. And I kept up with the podcast and the audiobooks when he was really little, but now he's 6. So like he really like kind of knows.
Yeah.
So we do listen to podcasts together. Like he listens to the Sanjay Gupta podcast with me. It's a little adult, but it's definitely not like something a kid can't listen to.
Right.
And then he listens to some podcasts himself. There's one
cool.
called Short Stories for Kids that he really likes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I would actually say I feel like my audio consumption probably dropped because I lost my commute. But I lost my commute during the pandemic when we all went to work from home, and I've been working from home 3 years before I dove into freelance life. But I would be interested. We'll track this. We'll see. Yeah. And I want everyone to also track with us because I am just fascinated now. Because I didn't know I was a monster until Eva told me
you are a monster. I'm probably also an outlier. And it's funny to say that because there's a book by Stephen King called The Outliers, and The Outlier is a monster. And it was an audiobook.
You're the outliner. I'm the monster.
Something weird's going to happen in my face if I'm the outlier. It's a whole thing. If anybody listening is going to read Holly, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh man.
No, it's not The Outlier. Sorry. It's called The Outsider.
Oh, Outsider.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm an outsider and an outlier, but I hope that doesn't happen in my face.
But I hope at least I'm not the monster.
The monster has it's rough.
We'll save that for another day.
He has so many teeth. All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Episode 1 is done. Woo! Woo!
Remember to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ghost Boss Podcast. And also, please like and review us on your favorite podcast app.